we have a much larger period of time, which already advisors are saying are extremely useful for one-to-one meetings. So advisors will sit down for 20 or 30 minutes with each of their advisors over the course of these Wednesday blocks and have an in-depth conversation about attendance or struggles in particular classes or successes in particular classes and why those successes are happening in one class and potentially not in another, and looking at the connection and how to draw that transfer from one success to another subject. It's a new frame that we're using this year is reducing the number of traditional assemblies on the Wednesday mornings and allocating that time for the advisor and the one-on-one students. And we're already seeing really, I think, strong results from that choice and from that meeting. We're also using that time occasionally for grade meetings. So if there's an issue that any one of us or their teachers feel that it's a whole grade-wide discussion point, we'll bring them together during that block to have those conversations as a larger group. Currently, I'm investigating to bring in a health specialist to come in and talk to the grade 10s about sexual health as well as physical health and nutrition for one of these grade meetings, and continuing what they get in grade 9 into potentially a year in grade 10 and 11 where it's a little bit more applicable, possibly, maybe not, in their lives. And you'll see correspondence about that before any meeting happens. Recently, just last week actually, the grade 10 shared their personal project ideas with their advisory group. And in return, the grade 10 or 12 shared their EE process and topic. So you had this conversation where grade 10s were not just being recipients of information, but they were sharing the personal project. And then grade 12 sharing their EE, and then they were seeing the connections between the two processes. So there is actually quite a bit of collaboration, and for grade 10s, they're hopefully soaking up all of these words of wisdom from their peers on these different types of processes. Today, for example, they're going to talk about global citizenship and where they fit in this world, what their responsibility is within the global setting, and hopefully developing not only discussions on networking, but on social responsibility and their place within Mulgrave, but also their place as future leaders, hopefully making the world a little bit of a better place, starting with Mulgrave and then extending outward.
Okay, now looking ahead, this slide really references the course planning element, and this is something which we're always looking to improve every year, and we've had some discussions with the senior school grade reps about this, and I think we're already in response to that collaboration put in a couple of new dates which I wanted to alert you to, and I really would appreciate it if you can distribute this to as many people as possible in grade 10 who weren't able to attend. We will of course make a link to these slides and connections, but really please I would ask if anyone couldn't make it today, ask them to drop onto these slides to see what's coming up and make them fully aware of it. Course selection is always a challenge in every school, moving from grade 10 to grade 11, because we want to ensure that students are able to select the right courses for the diploma at the appropriate level and with the university destinations in mind. And of course, we want to minimize the need for any changes, late changes. We have our own institutional reasons for that. We want to build a timetable that really supports student learning, and that has to be done early in March. So this process is facilitating that. And obviously any changes after that March timetable building creates real challenges, as some of you will know. We've had sons or daughters in grade 11 and 12 already. So we want to get it right. We want to provide as much information for families and students to enable them to make the most informed decision. So we've added a couple of dates to help with this. One, which we'll refer to on the next slide about university counselling, is December 1st, which is one where we're going to have a wide school discussion. This is not just for grade 10, but for the wider community, about best fit university choices. What does Mulgrave think are appropriate and good university choices for Mulgrave students, and the reasons why, and the data behind that, the research behind that, to try and give families more of a steer about what we think are great universities and the reasons why. And that will obviously help in grade 10 course selection as well. We have a before Christmas new open door, specifically on course selection, December the 8th at 6:30, where we'll be talking about a number of issues relating to diploma course selection, and making sure that all of us have a consistent message about whether you take one subject as SL or HL, some of the university contexts, some of our views about what we think is a good program, and really making sure that all of the grade 10 community have that information. Also, in order to ensure consistency of every student's understanding of the diploma, we've proposed, this is not confirmed, to have a course selection fair in this room on January the 14th between 2 and 4 o'clock. So straight after the Christmas break, grade 10 students will be able to come in here and they'll be able to go around to different stalls and find out face-to-face and with information what happens in high-level English lit. What do we mean by Chinese B and Chinese A language? What do we mean by Group 3 philosophy online versus economic standard level versus history, etc., etc. So really make sure students have a face-to-face opportunity, and doing that within the school day so that they all attend and they're all able to track around each of the 6 stations representing each of the 6 sections of the diploma. Now, of course, before all of this happens, what I've skipped over here is our program of studies document Sir Clark has put together over the years, and it's a really excellent, detailed, step-by-step guide to all of the subjects that are on offer, and gives you all the information that you will need in making informed decisions. And getting feedback from current grade 11s and grade 12s and also students who have left. Having this information before Christmas is really, really important, because you perhaps can utilise the time away to have those family discussions about some of the important factors of course selection. That's why there's a link to it here, so that we will expect and hope students start looking at that. And that with the additional open doors before Christmas and after Christmas, and the fair that we'll have here, plus access to this, when students then have their one-to-one interviews in February with the 3 of us, plus one of the 2 counsellors, that should be a situation where they're just confirming what they've already had plenty of time to think about, consider and reflect upon. Also this year, just so you're aware, like last year, we will have an eligibility form. So we're asking that students get some kind of endorsement from a subject teacher about their eligibility to study a subject at a particular level. We need that teacher input to make sure that there is absolute consistency between family and student expectation and the teacher guidance. Because we know from experience of running students through the diploma program that not all subjects at all levels are appropriate for every student. And if it's just done on a completely free choice without our guidance, then that student's going to really, really struggle if they don't get that real direct input. So the key word here is eligibility, and it's a carefully thought through word, meaning we're just saying that a student is capable of taking this subject at standard level, or capable of taking this subject at a high level. And by capable, we mean securing, say, a level 3 at SL and a level 4 at HL, because that's the requirement that it would need to pass the diploma. So we're not saying they need to be super brilliant at the subject, we're saying that they're able to study, and the phrase we use, it's an appropriate challenge, but not unnecessary stress. So it fits into that window, so that you can be sure that you've got that clear guidance from the school, and then therefore when they come to that meeting in February, it should be a straightforward discussion that just really is ticking off those boxes.
Well,
So
and really we'd be looking as well as the overall program as a whole. So often your conversations with subject teachers are based on per subject. So in February we would look at the whole program to make sure that there's the appropriate challenge within the whole program and the whole program of study, if that makes sense.
Every teacher will give that to the child, or they have to request it from certain teachers?
I think it's formally drawn up is where they would make an initial selection about which subjects. So say they select economics standard level in group 3, they would have a conversation with their socials teacher in grade 10 to say, do you think this is an appropriate selection for me and do you think I'll be able to cope with this course? And that socials teacher will just tick yes or no. And if that social teacher isn't actually the economics teacher, they of course will have the conversation with Mr. Lawson, who's in that department, to say, what do you think? And that's where we need to have those conversations as early as possible. So that's what we mean by eligibility. So depending on which subjects they're selecting, they will then get those ticked off by a teacher just to say that yes, they're okay.
So one of the key areas for that is the appropriate math level and the appropriate language level. Those are the two of the key areas.
And it may disnomer some of the false concepts of what economics is in that process, in getting that form signed. They will actually have a conversation with Mr. Lawson, which will clarify what that course is actually all about.
Which is a great idea, because often students will come to me and say, we study the stock market. Is that what economics is? Everything to do with the stock market. And so, it's good.
You mean me right?
They think it is this course.
Ms. Gibbs, how do these dates fit in with when we get report cards? Because I think when we come back from Christmas holidays or winter holidays, we have exams even for grade 10s, and I presume, is there a report card in there somewhere? So we have some idea of how they're currently doing? I know there's some interim something before. But
Progress 1 reports will be to parents by
November.
yes. Yeah, so that you'll have that as your main data in
There
this
will
process.
also, when we actually start coming for the interviews, there's another progress. There is a progress 2, so the end of term 1 report card comes out at the end of January.
Okay.
So you'll have that information as well ready for the meetings.
Yeah,
We
those
will
are us
also, for the interview meetings as well, have the results from the PSAT tests that the students took last week as well. It doesn't inform us too much, but it just gives us a little bit more information.
That's a good question, because we want to have as much data as possible to make the most informed choice. I think that's why having that consistency of eligibility ticked off by a teacher means that that they're the people who best know an individual student's capacity. And it may be in some situations that they may have got a particularly challenging mark in a Progress 1 report, but the teacher still says yes, I think you're eligible, because that's just a blimp. So that teacher will know that student and their capacity as well as possible. And as Mrs. Clark says, the key subjects tend to be math, tend to be your language selection in Group 2 as well. And from my perspective, also science selection is very, very important as well. So, but in most instances, this is a straightforward process. Families and students discuss this really well. They really talk to the teachers early. They really consider and reflect. They take the guidance. In a small number of cases, it might be that eligibility form would require another conversation with the student and family to say, really, is that the best choice? In most cases, that doesn't happen, but that's what it's there for, to capture that concern, so they don't then carry on into grade 11, and then the wheels come off the bus in the middle of grade 11. Because we're looking to make sure there are no course changes in grade 11 beyond October the 11th, and ideally no course changes at all. Okay, so that's the goal.
Oh, okay. Over to you, Luke.
Well, good morning, everybody. As you know, this is a university visit season. And I think you've been getting many emails, and probably had your sons and daughters talk about many universities that are coming to Mulgrave, who have come and are coming over the next 4 or 5 weeks. And one of the things that Ms. Tang and I encourage your sons and daughters to do is, and I'm prefer to say it so many times, but I'll say it again, it's really important to go to some of the university sessions. We've had 3 very successful fairs, a Canadian one, American one, and a UK one over the last couple of weeks, but also we have a lot of individual universities that do come to the school. We had a wonderful presentation from Northeastern University yesterday, which is in Boston, and we've had a couple of the Claremont colleges. We've already had a few Canadian schools and obviously a few UK schools, and there are more to come. We have NYU coming this week as well, and then November is mostly Canadian schools. I would really encourage your sons and daughters to go to some of those sessions. I mean, they are the true experts on those particular institutions. The other thing I also emphasize, particularly if the student is interested in the U.S., excuse me, quite often the rep that comes, so for instance, yesterday the rep from, excuse me, from Northeastern University as it was with Claremont McKenna College last week, I asked the rep, I said, do you read the applications coming from this school? Yes, I read the applications. And I think that's really, really important to know that a fair number of the representatives from the US schools are the regional reps, and they will actually read the application coming from the school. And so I always encourage students, particularly if they're interested in specific US schools, to go to the presentation, because chances are the person you're talking to will read the application. So, you know, it's all about networking to a certain extent for that. But the more knowledge you have, you know, the better informed decision that you can make down the road. So in part and parcel of that, obviously, as Mr. Davis just said, is that Ms. Tang and I, after the reading break, will start to sit down and have our first one-on-one meetings with the grade 10 students. And this is the first of two, because we'll also then have the initial follow-up meeting when we do course selection in February. But the initial one-on-one meetings after the reading break will be just to sort of get an idea of where your son and daughter, what they're interested in or what they're not interested in. Perhaps do they have certain universities or geographical area in mind? If they're thinking of the U.S., you know, have they or will they be writing the SAT or the ACT? So we're just trying to get sort of a framework for where your son and daughter is at that moment, and hopefully that the conversation will then become part of sort of a larger conversation that's taking place in November and December with the course selection and so on and so forth. So we will be sitting down in about that 4 or 5 week period from about mid-November to mid-December, and we do sit down with every single student in grade 10 for about 10 or 15 minutes, and of course you always can have follow-up meetings any time if you want to come in and sit on a meeting as well. I mean, this is a family decision, a family discussion as well, and we certainly have parents that do come to those sessions as well. Because it's important to have that dialogue open, because as I say to the grade 10s when we have those meetings, that even, and I said this when we were doing the PSAT registration last week, I said to the students, my friends, you think you may be graduating in 3 years, you're in grade 10. Yes, but you realize you're applying to university in 2 years' time. And they kind of go, yeah, 2 years' time. 2 years from now, you're applying. I've already done the Oxbridge applications for the grade 12s. On November 1st is the early decision, early action deadline for students going to the US. So that's 2 years from now for the grade 10 students. And I think when they hear that, they kind of go, wow, yeah, I better start to really think about this maybe more seriously. So I think that conversation needs to happen perhaps a bit more if it isn't already. So when we do course selection by February, there's a good idea of perhaps type of programs or type of universities that the students want to go to for that. So we have those meetings and the one-on-one meetings, and also again as attending the university sessions for that. The other thing that we will do again for the students who were here last year, we did introduce the students to Naviance in the Life and Learning class in grade 9. We did a couple sessions. We will make sure that in those one-on-one sessions that they have logged into Naviance or Family Connection, which is part of the Naviance. This is where students will track all their applications, request transcripts, and grade 12 request letters of recommendation, et cetera, et cetera. So we want to make sure that students are using that tool. We have all the college visits listed there as well. They can also tell us if they're interested in attending that visit as well. They can just say, I'm interested in attending. So we have an idea of the numbers as well for that. So it's really important that students use that tool. And also you can use that as well. You have passwords to log into Family Connection as well. And the last thing, as we always were saying, is that on the website under the parent portal, we have all sorts of resources and information for you. We also have the Google Calendar, again, with all the visits as well. So they're in 2 places, plus a very detailed guide on making choices about universities, information on scholarships, really a whole variety of information that I think you'd find useful either now or certainly for the next year or so for that. So that's basically sort of the university planning in grade 10. But please feel free at any time to make an appointment with Ms. Tang or with myself if you have obviously any specific questions about university planning. Do you have any general questions? Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
In regards to the calendar,
Yes.
is it possible for you to give a little bit more information about the universities that come in the calendar? Like, the IE School of Business, is that a specifically business school? Like, we can see schools, you see the schools coming, but there's a bit more information on what the school is about, what it's known for, what you
For us to provide it, because you can actually, because on the family connection, if you click on the school, it takes you right to their website on the family connection.
Right.
Or did you want us to put like a little blurb about it?
Well, no, more like I don't know anything about the university,
yeah.
right? So for me to figure out what kind of university this is,
Right.
I have to read through the whole.
So whether it's the liberal arts, a small one,
Right.
campus
Oh, I
based,
see.
larger
Okay.
ones.
Is it a liberal
Yeah,
arts
so we can
school?
put a
Is it
little, yeah.
You know, economic school, is it, you know, whatever.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, we can put that in the little, there's like,
Description.
there's a note for the thing, the students, which you can see, like, and just say that this is like a liberal arts college, wherever. But, yeah, but having said that, you can also, on the family connection, if you click on the university, it actually takes you right to the website as well. If you want to. But absolutely, sure. And I try to, certainly when I email the students about it, so for instance, like when Claremont McKenna's here at Panoma College, I'll say this is like a liberal arts college or whatever, or this is a larger school, just at least to have an idea. But absolutely, sure. Yeah, no worries. That's easy to do. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much.
Are you staying for you going now?
I can stay.
I'm not saying you had to, I just wanted just to make sure that
Sure.
what's going is going. Okay, so Melissa Moore has asked us to speak about the NYPE assessments that the grade 10s are going to be doing later on in school year. And this is actually, the e-assessments, I've got the dates on the next slide, but the e-assessments are going to be taking place in May. And because the grade 10 students will have their end of year exams in June and having e-assessment exams in May, we have decided not to do grade 10 exams in January. So that's an update if you didn't know that. So the NYPE assessments, so these assessments that are actually set by IB and linking with the criteria that the students have been studying in the different subjects. At present, we are not doing all the subjects. We've chosen 2 e-assessments for them to do. They're on-screen e-assessments, and it's a really cool concept of how the students can do the exams on the screen, and there's interactiveness through that, and each exam lasts 2 hours. And the idea is that it provides the teacher with some different stimuli, different ways of assessing the students on that level. They will have media in there, have different types of questioning techniques, which link in with the skills that they have been developing within that subject area. And it's rigorous and it's standardised, so it's not just our teachers marking the assessments, which is what we do for the most of the NYP. These are actually going to be assessed externally, and it's a really good summative assessment at the end of the NYP course. One of the key assessments that we're going to be doing is the interdisciplinary Unit 1. And one of the reasons is this is a key assessment that will link the skills that they have been developing in all their subjects and through the personal project into one assessment task. So we're really looking at the skills of communication, the critical thinking skills that the students have been doing. So there's 2 key assessments that they're going to be doing. So they're doing the mathematics one, which is going to take place on Thursday the 12th of June in the afternoon. 2.5 hours gives us time to set up and finish. And then we've got the interdisciplinary learning, which will bring all these skills together the following Friday. Again, in Friday afternoon. So that's just one to note that on that Friday afternoon, that will be the early dismissal on the Friday, so they are going to be an expectation to continue on after that. And yeah, that is the
Victoria long weekend.
but it's a Friday before then. Yes, and it's the last day of the DP exams as well. Any questions on the assessments?
So this is happening in May or June?
These are happening in May. So these assessments will happen in May, and then the school end of year assessments, NYP assessments for all the subjects will happen in June.
And this is on your calendar already?
Yes, yeah, the dates are on the calendar. And one of the things we've added as well is what we're doing similar with the grade 11s and 12s is any day before a major assessment is assessment blackout. So the grade 10s will not be having, and it's on their grade 10 academic calendar, they will be not having any assessments and things the day before, so that they make sure that they're prepared for these e-assessments the following day.
So what kind of preparation will you be expecting the kids to do for these? Will it be sort of...
So the mathematics they will do generally through the math class, they'll be practicing that and there's assessment. For the interdisciplinary, I don't know entirely because this is the NYP, so the skills that they're using will be developed through all the classes and bring it all together. Miss Moore could probably give more information on that. As far as I know, I don't think they're actually doing anything specific to plan for it. It's just just bringing the education together. So with the ones we did at the end of last year, the students were very successful in doing them, and throughout the education that we supplied, they should be prepared.
So last year we were part of the pilot program, which were trialing this new initiative from the IBO, specifically the NYP program. And so this is the first cohort with the official launch of the e-assessment. Now the mathematics department has thoroughly looked at the content that is going to be on that May 12th exam and have organized the curriculum throughout the year in line with that examination date, as well as, because you know that some of our math students will also be writing the math provincial and the science 10 provincial. So in combination with provincial examinations as well as e-assessments and our end of year Mulgrave final assessments, there should be a lot of preparation and a lot of thought just for students in terms of how to prepare, how to time manage, but how to sit a formal examination as well. Because our focus isn't on sitting formal examinations throughout the year. There is still an element of skill development needed to have a sustained period of concentration, as well as the rules of a formal examination in preparation for our grade 12 IB exams. So that is also a big part of this process, is to have them know what it means to walk into a formal examination room, what that feeling feels like, and to have a safety net in practicing. So this is another strong opportunity to give them practice in those settings, especially with the NYP going to moderate this examination. So they will be directly assessing it, and it will give us light on where we need to further develop or our successes, which we're more likely to see, to be honest with you.
So how will these will not be marked in terms of being on their report cards per se. It's just for the school's purposes and their NYPs.
Exactly. And we're really looking at this really advanced and innovative interdisciplinary learning assessment, because many top Stanford, Harvard, they're looking at changing what university looks like in terms of application of skill rather than the traditional lecture hall. So these are really on the forefront of what assessments is going to look like in the next 5-10 years, especially this interdisciplinary learning assessment, where we're asking not to be in the focus of a math content drive, but we're in the focus of how do all these things connect? How would you apply this information to this specific problem? And that's where we're seeing education and assessments moving towards, which is really, really exciting that Mulgrave's really on the forefront of this.
So with these assessments, you're saying that they're in school and not going to be graded on their report cards. Are they also used as looking at the student as how they should be selecting
Absolutely.
their classes?
Absolutely. Yeah. Now this will be a touch after obviously the course selection process.
Yeah.
But it will give us insight just on skill development, on preparation development, as well going into the courses that they've selected. Yeah.
So does that mean the parents will get the parents and the students get the results of this both for their individual child and then the school as a whole?
They won't. You probably will not get access as a school as a whole, but perhaps Ms. Moore will further develop that on terms of trends. But you will definitely get your own students' results. Yeah.
So just now you mentioned it's a standardized or summative test. So the test form is just like standard test.
It is a standardized test for all
Just like
NYP students that are doing mathematics.
Not
Yes.
like the SATs and things like
No,
that.
no.
It's a lot more critical thinking skills. There's a whole variety of different stimuli that the students have. What it means is that everybody is being assessed. It's not, and the teachers who are assessing it have all been moderated to make sure they're assessing at the appropriate level. So it's standardised across in that way.
Yeah.
Rather
So
than
every student NYP globally, if they're taking this e-assessment, would take the same math e-assessment, and they would be assessed by the same cohort of instructors.
So not like all the choices, just maybe take the next example, maybe proper work solution for this problem, mathematics problem.
Yes, they would look at the process, absolutely. It wouldn't be a Scantron sheet where they are just filling in bubbles. It would be a process in line with the IB philosophy of, yeah.
Okay. So in terms of helping you plan for the school year, a couple of key pieces of information or information documents that you can go to. Hopefully quite a few of you now have already downloaded these from the school website, and I know the information has been sent out to parents a few different times. But a couple of key calendars that we recommend you having is a senior school divisional calendar. So this will have on it everything that is going on for the school year. We have the grade 10 academic calendar, so all the NYP teachers will put the assessment date for the assessment tasks that they're doing. So the socials teacher will put on when the NYP different assessments are taking place in the socials and so on. Also put a plug as well for the connections on there, which is sent out every week. And the little one that you need to click on, the senior school news, is a link that updates you every single week. So for example, this presentation will be part of this week's one. So there's on that, the connections, all sorts of different information. I think it might have the university. There's a link to the university site and what universities are coming up. So sent out every Friday, and it should be sort of your first go-to protocol to find out what's going on. And I think the way that Elizabeth and her crew has set it up this year, it's really simple, that you don't have to scroll down. You can just literally click on the senior school link and it will take you to the news for that one. Anything else, Liz?
Just a side note, university is maybe about another 2 or 3 sections lower than that little picture when you get the email template. Yeah, we have our own section. It's about 2 or 3 sections lower than that one.
It's only a little scroll. It's not. Elizabeth, did you want to mention anything else about the connections? Or?
No, just in general, under the parent portal, we have the senior school section, and nested is the resource page, and we do try and put everything that you would need to access on a regular basis on that page. So we have news, we have the academic calendar, we have cast links. If you notice that there's something that you access regularly and it's not on there, let us know, and we're trying to make it a one-stop shop for you guys.
So that's the senior school link through the parent portal piece. So we have just been through the calendar and a few things to highlight. Hopefully we've got everything. I think there might be 1 or 2 things missing. So sign up for student-led conferences is coming up soon. Because we've got the fall week off, we've got an early Remembrance Day assembly. So a very special moment within the school calendar. Report cards will be sent out during November the 6th, and we've got a little bit about report cards later on. The conferences are on the 19th and 24th, which I think is one Tuesday, one Thursday. It is student-led, so similar to in the middle school, it's really advantageous for the students to come to those interviews so they can learn firsthand what they need to work on and develop within their particular course areas. We have Global Week for the grade 10s. Global Week for the whole school is going on between November the 30th and December the 4th. On November the 30th, there is an open door that Mike Moore is leading. So he has been working on the 21st century skills for the whole school. And so there's some changes that we're doing. And actually, when we look at the report card, you'll see some of the work that we have been working on that. So there's an open door, not just for grade 10, but for the school to look at the 21st century skills. As we mentioned earlier on, there's a presentation about Best Fit to University discussions on December the 1st. At the end of the Cyprus Student Summit, the grade 10s on the Friday are actually off timetable all day. And some of the grade 11 students are part of one of their big leadership opportunities in grade 11, and some of the grade 12s, is to develop a Cyprus Student Summit in line with the theme for the Global Week. Do you know what the Global Week theme is?
That's a surprise.
Okay, it's a surprise. So they will be involved in a variety of interactive workshops on that Friday, and it is during the school hour time. With previous years it might have been after school or going on all day Friday, but for this grade 10s it is just during that Friday morning. Key date as well on that Friday, that's a personal project completion, so not finishing everything, but the actual completion of their project before they go on to write the report, and there's a little bit as well about personal project coming up. Some other key dates, the grads put a special plea in, so grad Christmas tree sale on the 5th of December. Are they doing delivery this year, or we don't even know? Okay, they do delivery. And poinsettias and wreaths, I think, as well are on sale. So we added, the new one that we're looking at is the course selection open door. So that'll be very much an informative session. With Mr. Davis speaking earlier on, sometimes with herself, we get into the IB lingo and we start talking about HLs and SLs. And those of you who are perhaps totally new to or not been through the diploma program before, included in that will be a little bit of introduction to some of the lingo and a little bit more about the diploma program as well. We're looking at the grade 10 course selection fair. We need to determine this on the 14th of January. And then the evening, there is the winter camp information session. And we're also looking at, we have this date in the calendar as well, the 14th of January, for more course planning information. So the thought was to sort of run like a smaller version or an information session following up from what the students had in the afternoon. Just the winter camps. I will be going this year. It's the 5th time I've been on a winter camp. I absolutely love it. It's only one night in the snow. It's an amazing, amazing experience for the students to actually get out there and experience a different style of camping that I had never come across before I came to Canada. So it's a brilliant, brilliant camp. And Ali on the information session, Ali McTavish, who leads the camps, will be taking through. I love it. We then will start the course planning interviews in February. Progress report there it comes out on the 12th of February. So maybe if you wanted to look at when those marks come out, maybe plan your interviews accordingly. Personal project, final paper, so finished the report is actually due on the 26th, and then there's a celebration of learning just before the spring break on March the 8th. So we didn't go into after spring break, there's lots of exciting things coming up, and those are just some of the key highlights.
Keep you busy, don't
Yeah. Okay, so over to you, Michelle, to give a little update on the personal project.
As you know, your sons and daughters are busy working on their personal projects and their process journals. Mr. Coppell apologizes for not being here, but he's off campus today on a trip. But he did want to just highlight again the personal project components. So there are 3, the process journal, which is an ongoing reflective tool in terms of the process that they're going through with their research and application. And then the product itself, so if it was a cookbook or a skateboard ramp or a canoe, whatever the product was itself, which is coming up with the deadline on December 4th. And then the project report, where it's more of a traditional subcategorized or subtitled report that they hand in to the school to be moderated. Now the objectives obviously are to develop and further develop the research skills, self-management and time management skills, and the communication and social skills, and then obviously always the thinking skills through any project. And a fabulous, fabulous evening on March 8th, where the grade 10 students come and present, not so much present, but they interact with all the parents in describing their process and what their end project was and how they found it, if there was successes along the way or even the failures often are a little bit more insightful in what they actually learned through the process. If everything's roses along the way, then maybe it wasn't as large of a learning experience if there was a couple hiccups, right? And then how they overcame those struggles. But really, really exciting. I hope they're having fun with it. But just in your mind, early December, the project itself should be completed if they're on time. Okay.
So the reading week might be a nice time for catching up as well as having something.
Another small housekeeping here is that Planning 10 should also be on your radar. I know that Ms. D, the online teacher, has been emailing everyone in terms of the progress of your daughter or son. It is a required course for graduation. It is something that will be on transcript. There is a vicious rumor that it does not go on transcript. It does go on transcript. And so it's something to be thoughtful about and put energy into, and perhaps, if needed, bringing a couple of the students together on a weekend and they work together through their last unit or their last portfolio. I did just have a meeting with the head of the online North Van district, and she reminded us of the importance of this and the value of learning online. Because again, that is a skill in itself, and an important skill moving forward is how you learn in a virtual world and your motivation and levels of engagement on different online forums in an educational setting. So again, that should be probably a message coming from mom and dad as well, is that this is sometimes a struggle for students having an online forum and maintaining motivation, but it is going to be something that they're going to need to learn for their post-secondary education. So there's the timeline. It should be wrapping up soon. Most have started in the summer and have finished, but if you did start in September, it should be in the new year that it's wrapped up and completed. Okay?
Okay, so just going through the reporting progress. So as we've mentioned, the Progress 1 reports are going to be coming out on November the 6th. And as you have had in the past, you will be emailed from your students, your children's advisor teacher, a copy of a Google Doc report card. And in this report card, it will not have levels at this stage because the teachers have not done enough assessment tasks to be able to give them a level, but it will highlight which criteria the students have looked at. There is a change this year, so rather in the past we have had effort levels, so they've had an E for excellent effort, S for satisfactory, I and a U. But these have been interpreted in quite different ways by different students, by different teachers. So one of the bits that Mike Moore has been doing with his ATLs is to break down, and with the teachers, is to break down what it actually means, what we think effort is, and what areas we want to assess the student on effort. So we've put it into this ATL, approaches to teaching and learning. So their approaches to learning, how are they doing in 3 key different areas, and I'll let you know what they are in a minute. At the end of term 1, the Progress 2 report card that's coming out in February, this will have an update on their ATL skills, and it will have a first level. So again, you'll be emailed a report card, a Google report card home from your advisor teacher, but you can, through the parent portal, get a summary of what their ATLs were and their overall levels. And then at the end of grade 10, there will just be the final level that they've achieved in that subject and the ATL skills. I got it on my calendar.
So again, with this drive to ATL skills being collaboration, reflection, time management, it's really, really trying to get the conversation away from how do you do better, work harder. Because for students and even for adults, they don't know what that means, right? They don't know what the concept work harder means. And if they do, it might be a misconcept that they're studying in a different way that's not showing results, or they're using their time, what they feel is appropriate work, but it's not showing results in the service learning or in the CAS or in their academics. So this is an attempt to break down that conversation of not simply saying work harder, study more, but what areas specifically are we meaning some advancement or that there's success in? So is it?
It's a little small to see, but this is how the new Google report would look. So there's 3 approaches to learning ATL skills. The first one is organisation. So this is great for a student who is organised and will really assess where they're at. Collaboration, how well are they working with other students in the class, project work, homework, other things. And then also the reflection piece. How are they doing in their learning? So not just saying, okay, I'm not working hard enough, as Ms. Douglas was saying, but why? Why were they successful in this task? Why were they not successful in the other? So to really think about how they're being reflective. And for the actual piece, the teachers will assess them at 4 different levels. So the bottom level is requiring support. So does the student have a business skill, but they really need support of others, whether it's an advisor teacher, the classroom teacher, to enable them to reach, to get the homework in on time and things like that. Emerging is they're starting to use the skill, they're not having to have as much support, they're starting to use the skill. They've got things in place that will help them to bring that. It might be they've got a weekly check-in with their advisor teacher or other things. They've got support in place to help them to do that. So they're emerging with that particular skill. Using, they're able, they're confident, they're being effective in using the skill. They can actually demonstrate that in the classroom. And then the modelling. This is then, they're actually taking this skill beyond being able to use it themselves. But they're modelling, they're helping others, they're showing, some in ways taking a bit of a leadership sort of role in being able to use this skill and work with others within that particular area. So these 4 different areas have been developed through the teachers in the NYP, and we actually are going to be using this in the diploma programme as well, so our senior school students will be having these different models. Michelle, anything else we need to add on that? No.
There was an email sent out yesterday as well. So
Okay.
if you haven't had a chance to read it, it's specifically about this.
And there'll be a breakdown as well in the report card that says a little bit more about what we're looking at, what we mean by organisation, what do we mean by reflection. So there'll be an overview of that at the top of the report card as well. So we're quite excited about this because you can get some students who are great at reflecting, they're great collaborators within inside the classroom, but their organisation skills are out, they just haven't got them. So this means that they can be recognised for some of these skills that they're doing very, very well and really highlight the skill that they need to continue to develop. Okay, I think we're nearly there. I think we are. Yay! And then all our contact details. So everybody, if you need to be involved. So any questions from you guys? There's a lot of information. Yeah, it's good. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Please don't hesitate to email or